Hello, greetings everyone. This is Ayya Phalanyani speaking from Germany, Anenja Vihara. Welcome to everyone. I hope you have a great day. Whether it is somewhere in the afternoon or you end your day, wherever you are, whatever you do, may you be well and happy and protected from all that could harm you or could be bad for you. I'm very happy to see that you all are joining again. And um, I think we can just do a few minutes. Just a few minutes to close our eyes and breathe and get to where we are, to either start our day or to end our day wherever you are. You just breathe in and out and relax. To relax your belly so that there is no control, no tension. You just keep breathing and I start talking. You just breathe the in air, relaxing all your muscles and sinews so that there is no more tension anywhere. You don't need tension to listen to the Dhamma. No physical tension. Attention, mental attention, that of course you do. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So, I don't see those who had the questions. But anyway, I'm going to answer the questions as they are coming in or respectively as they came in last week. We bring to this week a question, two questions actually from last week. The first was from Arnav. How can I calm my mind? How can I calm my mind? And it seems, let me see, there's just a question here. As I see, calming the mind, like everything else, is a process that we must have confidence in, that it can be done with patient attention and care. Our virtuous life is paramount. So that seems to be a comment. And right, there was a discussion on Namarupa. I am aware consciousness needs to come first before Namarupa. So without consciousness, does Namarupa exist? This is a good question. We come to this. But first, as I promised to Arnav, we're going to the question, how can I calm my mind? I understand that this out there is a very troublesome mind, that there out there is a world that can be burdensome and can be quite unsettling at times. So to know how to calm our minds is a good thing, to be able to. When we look at things with a calm mind, we might not be so agitated as we would be when we don't have the means. So I will try to elaborate a little bit. And there are certain things that the Buddha is actually mentioning that we can do to calm our minds. A still mind, a calm mind is essential to progress on your meditative path, or to progress on your path of practice, on your path to enlightenment. So if you are a monastic, even then, that is very, very important to have a calm mind. The aim, or the thing that we aim for when we speak of a calm mind, would be passaddhi. Passaddhi. Passaddhi is one of the enlightenment factors that comes after samadhi. Samadhi, I wouldn't call it concentration, because for many of us Westerners, it is kind of concentration. The word concentration doesn't feel so good and doesn't give us so nice memories. So maybe it's better to translate it as collectedness, or I like the word focus, because a focus is very one pointed, but can be very flexible as to where it goes. And that, to me, seems what is required. You know, when you meditate, you start first with one object. You train your focus. You train samadhi. Samadhi is a practice that makes you calmer, which leads eventually to the meditative attainments of the absorptions of the jhanas if you practice enough. But even without going into those absorptions, you can calm your mind by focusing your mind. So by sama samadhi, sati, sama sati would rather bring wisdom, but that can be sometimes somewhat agitating to see all your things that you still have going on in your heart and in your mind. So when you see that you're still a bad person or much worse than you thought you are, that can be agitating. But to focus on one thing that really brings you calm and quietness. When your mind is going from the distractedness that we have to deal with anytime in our lives. So when we sit down to meditate, first, thing is, of course, to sit upright. And to relax. And to not hold on to any views. That's very important. Because views are agitating your mind. Thoughts are agitating your mind. It's not that you must not think. No, you can think. But you don't attend to your thoughts. Your mind doesn't go there. And if it goes there, once you notice, you move away your mind and bring your mind back to the point of your focus. Now that focus can be whatever you think or whatever your teacher gave you. That can be the breath, the in-breathing and the out-breathing. That can be the observing of the belly, also breathing in and breathing out and naming it and saying rising when the air comes in and falling when the air goes out. That is just a simple and plain exercise to train your focus and your calmness. Also, if, for example, you have an imagination such as a light internally, that you focus on an internal light. Many people get that, receive that as a meditation object. Or whether you have loving kindness, metta, as your meditation object and try to experience it within your heart, or whether you use some sentences like a mantra. May I be happy. May I be happy. May every being be happy. Or if you use a mantra like Bud, Ho, Bud, Ho. This will lead you to calm and will calm your mind down. That is temporary. You can also, one thing that helped me a lot to calm down and to understand how distracted I really was the beginner's exercise of Zen meditation, to simply count from 1 to 10. And then again, once you reach 10, you count again from 1 to 10. And you do that again and again with every single breath. Breath comes in, goes out, and while it goes out, you count 1. Next breath comes in, and while it goes out, you count 2. Breath comes in, and while it goes out, 3. Breath goes in, and while it goes out, 4. And that up to 10. And you might notice that in the beginning, you might not even reach 3, and then you are already distracted. That, of course, is not calm mind. Or you sit there and suddenly you hear yourself saying 15. And then, oh, you notice, wow, I was not aware at all. So this, for me, was one of the best trainings to really establish a strong concentration or a strong calm mind. And if you don't leave much room because you always count, not many disturbing thoughts can come in between. So if it's just to calm the mind, that would be enough. If you practice one of these things, or if you, for example, here's another exercise, if you take an external object and say, I'm focusing here on that dot. And you drop everything else. And it's just that one dot there. Nothing else. And the world around you disappears, but you just don't stare at it like that, really, with staring, but just gently, gently. We focus on that one dot. And our eyes are not really looking at it, not really wanting to see it. They just need that anchor. They just need some spot to rest on. But you never let it you never let it slip away so much that the dot disappears. The picture all around it, that may disappear, but not that dot. This also would create a calm and stable mind. I think these are probably enough exercises that you can do, and the more you do them as a formal practice and as a practice that you can do whenever you have a moment, whenever you do not need to apply your mind to a thing that should not go wrong. So then you can do this exercise. Now, for me, it's also interesting to elaborate a little bit the question, why is our mind not calm? Why is it? And I think the easiest answer to this question is, of course, because we do not practice. We never learned to keep it calm. We did never practice anything to keep it calm. And when we practiced, like with our studies at school, somebody was pressuring us. So we didn't want to do it. We learned that it's unpleasant and that we don't want. It's not that we cannot. It's just that the mind is not trained enough. And with the right training, it will, within 2 weeks, you will notice a difference. If you do one of the exercises that I explained to you just now, every day for, say, 2 hours, you will certainly notice a very huge difference within 2 weeks, even earlier than that. And if you do it less, it will take longer, because it's like going to the gym and you want to have that six-pack, the muscles on your belly. If you train and do sit-ups or whatever it takes to have that six-packs, you will get them easy and fast. And if you are irregular training and not training at all and letting it slip, and so then it won't work. The mind is by nature a hungry beast that wants to grasp everything. Hungry, I say, because we want fodder. We want something to think about. That's the nutriment that we crave for when it comes to our mind. Of course, our body needs another nutriment, but the nutriment that our minds want is either entertainment or something, an exercise. So when the mind does not get the nutriments that it needs, then it grasps what it gets, like a hungry beast, just grasping what is there to feed on. And usually we do not understand that it is a decision that we take to either feed on what we get or serve ourselves good and healthy nutriments. So there are so many comments on that already. Veneral Sopat, I'm very happy that you are there. I'm very, very grateful. My gratitude and respects to you, to Cambodia. So I think here it starts with the practice. Richard, can keeping consistent contemplation on different aspects of the Dhamma throughout the day, whilst doing task, engaging in worldly interactions, etc., be a preliminary substitute when it isn't possible to fully meditate in an immersive way. Yes, that can be used. It's not perfect though, and it is, well, it is not perfect. It is a substitute that we need to be aware of, that we need to consider, and it can be a very good substitute, and you can get very, very far. If you ever heard of Deepa Ma, she was a teacher for many, many women who were not allowed by their husbands, for example, to go to meditate, and who just had no time because they were family wives and ran the entire household or had to work. So she trained them to be so aware of their daily activities and of the Dhamma in daily activities, that these women or the people who practiced with Deepa Ma really could go far. But if you really want to become a better person and live your life better, I do believe that formal meditation practice of samatha practice, what we just talked of, so a practice that will train your focus, your concentration, or your ability to become one-pointed, as well as the vipassana inside meditation that allows you to become wiser and wiser the more you do it. And I think these two, samatha and vipassana, really need to be practiced to really have us experience the full potential of meditation. Okay, I hope this is enough for that, Richard. What else have we got? Melissa, could you explain or discuss Kala Chakra? Could the lesson be to achieve Buddhahood in this waking life that is not somewhere, anywhere other than in this waking moment, over and over again? What you write in after the first question, Melissa, sounds very familiar, and I could actually talk about that. But when you ask me, could I explain or discuss Kala Chakra, I have to say plainly and full-heartedly, no, I cannot. I have no idea. This is a Tibetan technique or a Tibetan approach, and I'm too much Theravada. I might have some idea about the Zen practice because I did it, but I never, I'm not into the Tibetan practice, although I learned that many practices of the Tibetans are really exactly the same as we do in Theravada, but not all. And I'm not familiar with Kala Chakra. But yes, the lesson indeed is of everything that we do. in this waking life that we go closer to Buddhahood. That for me as a Theravadan is all that I live for. Although I would not say Buddhahood, I would say Arahantaship. But we talked about that. If you look at it from the Theravada point of view, the Buddha was an arahant. I, as not a non-Buddha, would never dare, even in dreams, to call myself Buddha or strive for Buddhahood. I would strive for arahantship and think that is good enough. And but yeah, however you call it, if it is what you mean by the overcoming of suffering, by freedom of suffering, by how you want to put it, by becoming fully enlightened, then that is what we shall apply our waking life to. And there is nothing that we should do in any moment then to get closer and to understand that we can and should move closer towards that goal. And that everything that we do that is unwholesome brings us away, and that everything that is wholesome brings us closer. So I don't know if I could say something on that. I don't think so, but I didn't read this. Then I wonder why we do anything but meditate and renunciate. It seems if we do that, what we wanted in external affairs is satisfied and contented, assuming our basic needs are met, which involves work. Maybe ideal is 8 hours meditation, 8 hours work, 8 hours sleep, or 6 of each, and allow 6 hours to take it easier and not to be too rigid. Maybe this is grasping. I probably this is very, very wishful thinking, Dan, because the mind is just not that straightforward. You know, I was in a meditation center for many, many years. No, but for many years. And I was not allowed to do anything else than meditate. I was in Wat Lampung in Thailand for almost 3 years, whereas the first half year I was in a different monastery. But I had nothing else to do for 4 years, say, but meditate. And when I wanted something else than meditate, one of the teachers would come and say, less meditation than 12 hours is not enough for one who wants to become enlightened. And I wanted to become enlightened at that time. So, and I reached to the point where I walked on my knees with my hands together to my teacher and pleaded that he gives me some work in the monastery so that I do not need to meditate anymore, because I just couldn't after some years of Well, being in retreat, I was in retreats for weeks, then did something that is called atitan, where you don't sleep for some nights. Then I had some rest, and then I started again. And it was only disrupted by going to immigration office every 3 months. So, and I tell you, the mind is just not working as you wish it for, Dan. Um, when you sit in meditation after having worked for 8 hours, then your mind goes to your work. When you are working, your mind goes to, I wish I could meditate now. And when you have the time to meditate, then you only think of the work, or you feel so tired in either working or sleep or meditation that you think of sleeping. So you can't ever get the perfect situation. You need to practice the way you can, when you can, where you can. And the stronger your samadhi is, and the more you are able to be aware what is going on around you and not to get distracted, then you have a strong practice. And then you can use whatever time you have to develop your mind and to bring it to kind of, let's say, an alignment, and so much so that it is with the meditation when you're meditating, with the work when you're working, and sleeping when you sleep. And I think it's very important for us to learn that we do the things that we do wholeheartedly and 100%, not here a little bit, there a little bit. I think here in the monastery we have the best, actually, options. We do work. Our work is like keeping the monastery tidy or going on alms round. We have a lot of hours to practice. We have our duties to lay people, and yeah, we do try to sleep as little as possible, which you might not be able to do when you have to work. So yeah, I think the life in the monastery is really the best you can get. So then again, if our mind doesn't get nutriment, grasps at what it gets, serve ourselves good and healthy nutriments. Beautiful. So thank you for the comment. Beautiful, Ayya. I needed this. I was wondering why I was wandering around. Yeah, this is just our wanting of nutriments. And we are the ones who decide. Like a mother who says, no, you don't get sugar now. Melissa asks, and I think this is maybe a longer question, but I will shortly talk about it. Is arahantship and bodhisattva the same? If you ask me, then yes. The Buddha was called and called himself the Samma Sambuddhasa. I got it wrong. No. Arahantship and bodhisattva is not the same. The Buddha, arahantship, and Buddhaship, if you could say, is very, very similar. The difference between arahantship and Buddhaship is a Buddha is the one who found the teaching within himself without having another teacher, whereas arahants come after the Buddha and reach what the Buddha, or find what the Buddha found by learning what the Buddha taught. So the Buddha is always the highest. And the Buddha called himself a bodhisattva at the time when he was not a Buddhist, a Buddha yet. But he called himself also an arahant at the time when he was a Buddha. So that implies that arahantship and Buddhaship is more related, whereas arahantship and bodhisattvaship, being a bodhisattva, is not at all the same. No. A bodhisattva is an unenlightened being that strives to become fully enlightened, to become a Buddha or an arahant. So, and an arahant or a Buddha have attained to these things. I think this is the shortest that I comment, that I can comment on that. Jay says, I find counting breath very helpful. Yes, it is indeed. It's not only the teachers of old. I know teachers who teach that now. And it's in Zen a very, very normal practice for the beginners. And I'm a meditator since more than 40 years, but I do still practice it sometimes because my mind also can become distracted, especially after having Lyme disease and COVID. This is very helpful. And I wouldn't make it any more complicated than that. Counting from 1 to 10 is totally enough. Oh, thank you, Dan, so very much. So what says Rick? Since we are not in control of what wells up in the mind, do we need to determine the root causes of unskillful thoughts and impulses to cut them out of our lives? Or do we need to focus our efforts on not acting unskillfully, instead engage in wholesome words, thoughts, and actions? Rick, there are times for this and are times for that. If you sit in meditation, you have eliminated 2 major sources of unwholesomeness, namely the unwholesome source of deeds, actions, and you will not speak unwholesome. So 2 main courses of unwholesomeness are eliminated during your formal meditation. So when you sit there, you only have your mind And you can, of course, observe your mind and notice what you are thinking. And when you practice enough and you have seen closely enough how thoughts arise and cease and rise, and things arise and cease, and how they depend on each other, and one thing gives rise to another, and by that the former ceases, and thus unskillful things, unwholesome things arise within us. When you see that in your meditation, you can, of course, just focus on not having that happen. Whereas in your daily activities, you might really need to strongly determine, I shall not do any unwholesome, and I shall not react with any unskillful, unwholesome, in any unskillful or unwholesome way. And there you need much more focus on that. And you need a determination. And you might not ever reach the root causes of those unskillful, unwholesome actions or thoughts. Whereas when you are sitting in meditation and two of these main sources are eliminated, and you only observe your thoughts or your physical things arising and ceasing, then you are possibly, with a little bit of practice, very quickly capable of experiencing the root causes. First, you will notice the surface, of course. You will notice your anger and your liking and your disliking and your doubts and what all comes up when you meditate, all the hindrances. And when you have seen enough of that, and you see it finer and finer and finer and more clearly with every practice you do, with every single moment, then one day you will see the root causes. And you don't need to cut them out. That sounds very vicious and very, very aggressive. The more you understand, the more you know, and the closer you look, and the more you understand the roots and the underlying tendencies, the easier they just fall away. Just by seeing them arising, you see them ceasing. And one day, they may not arise again. They may have just ceased. And that would be a much softer approach. I'm not a friend of force and cutting things and fighting, and so no, softly, tender, wisely reflecting, aware each and every moment. So thank you, Joe. I will take care of my health, and I'm actually having some warm water here with me with some vitamins in it. Thank you for the reminder. I like this Mechi, the way she explained about meditation. She is very sincere. I'm not a Mechi Jowu, I'm a Bhikkhuni. And this year, in a few days, I will have 12 years. So, not to brag, but women can be bhikkhunis. Yes. And yes, I am sincere about it. I have to say so. So what else? How do we have? I do have actually more questions on my piece of paper, but if we are see what oh, thank you so much. Christopher Hans, please answer my queries. Where are your queries? Oh, Christopher, give me a second. I try to find your queries. They must be somewhere above. Oh, yes, about Nama Rupa. Right. Thank you for the reminder. Christopher, here. Previously, right, last week we did speak about Nama Rupa. There was that discussion on Nama Rupa. I am aware consciousness needs to come first before Nama Rupa. So, without consciousness, does Nama Rupa exist? No, certainly not. What comes first is kind of the same question when you ask which was first, the hen or the egg. It is not about an order in which the things come. Sometimes it is, but if there is no consciousness, there is only rupa. And if there is nama, there is consciousness. Normally, there might be some mental problems, but normally we would say that when there is nama, there is consciousness. Rupa, like a table, is a rupa, or my cup. We had it last week about the cup. Is a rupa without a nama. There is, in that rupa, in my cup of tea, I would reckon there is no consciousness. But for nama to be there is consciousness. And when there's consciousness, there's nama. So these are intertwined, let's say so. Was there more to that question? Let me just scroll. Yes, I assumed as in vijnana. And of course, when you look at the chain of the 12 links of the dependent origination, there vijnana in the order comes before nama rupa. But when you write things down or when you talk about them, you need a certain order. You can't just speak in muddled up, because nobody would understand you. But I think much more it is a thing when this is, that is, and when this is, that comes to be. So I wouldn't say when vijnana is there, nama rupa comes to be later. So I scroll down again. Here. Dear Dhamma friend, lovely sister, how are you doing? I'm Jana. If it's possible, please talk about insight meditation and 5 principles, Panchasila. Things, have a nice day. I think, Venerable, my respects to you. I humbly accept your invitation, but since it is 4 minutes before closing down, I think we postpone it to next time. And next time also we have questions about a karma, which we haven't even touched today. But I will note that, Venerable. Inside meditation. And Pancha Sila. So tune in next week, next Wednesday, same time. We will talk about that. There are more comments. Jay, after attaining Nibbana and no longer having samsara and being free of all fetters, does that last forever, or does impermanence not apply to Nibbana? So this very briefly. Nibbana is neither permanent nor impermanent. That is the one thing that is out of that scale. And it cannot last forever, because something like forever does not exist, but it does not cease either. And the best thing that I can think of now is, as the Buddha put it, when there is a candle or a little lamp, it will cease one day when the nutriments for the flame is used up. But if before the flame is out, when you light another lamp from that, it goes on. And there is nothing in Nibbana that would be graspable, that could be said of this is forever, or of which could be said this is impermanent. It just does not apply. As you say, it does not apply to, these things do not apply to Nibbana. Joe Wu says consciousness can exist by itself, but when they combine together, they create karma and great sufferings. I think that refers to what we were talking about earlier. Um, of course, consciousness can exist by itself, rupa exists also by itself, and they can exist in combination. We as humans are a combination of nama and rupa. A table or a cup is only rupa, and a deva would be only nama. There are devas in the higher deva realms, that would be only consciousness, even. So, yes, that can all exist. Okay, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you, Bante. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being there and listening. I feel honored. I wish you all well. May you be well and happy. May you have a great day ahead or good night ahead, wherever you are. Be blessed with all the fortune, and may you be free from any harm. Bye bye. Be well.